Hello everyone. In this module, we're covering Chapter 9 of your textbook. We're going to talk about blocks, the design center, external references, layers, and object properties. In this video, I'm going to talk about blocks, how to make them, and how to insert them. One of the major advantages of AutoCAD is that once you've drawn something, you can reuse it. We've seen this already with the copy tool and the array tool, and now we're going to see it even more with blocks. Blocks are a way to group objects together, and once you've grouped them together in this block, they're treated as one object. They're useful for discrete items such as furniture, fixtures, doors, things that you'd like to keep together and move all as one piece. You can use blocks that have been created in another drawing. You can also use blocks that were created by someone else. The command is called block, or its shortcut is the letter B. You can find the icon on the Home tab / block panel right here. Or you can also find it on the Insert tab and the Block Definition panel. It looks like this. There. Okay. You can either pre-select all the objects that you want to turn into a block before entering the command, or you can enter the command and then select the items. So a lot of AutoCAD commands work like this. You can either pre-select or you can select after you've started your command. After you have entered the block command, either by typing it or picking the icon, you're going to get this block definition window pop up. And here's a lot of options for creating your blocks. First, you give your block a name. It's best to use a consistent naming system. If you always put the size of an item first, for example, 3.0 door, and then you'd have a 3.6 door and a 2.8 door, or maybe you always say door 3.0. Whatever it is, keep it consistent. It makes it easier to find your blocks. Your names can have up to 255 characters, so you can get descriptive if you want. And you can include letters, numbers, blank spaces, etc. It's just like naming a file in Windows. Didn't used to be true. You used to be really constrained in the block names, and so you'll see that carry through if you copy some old blocks from other sources. Really short and cryptic block names. All right. Also on this window here is base point. The base point is the origin point of the block, and it determines where it gets inserted. So later, after you've defined this block and you want to insert it, it will ask you to pick a point. Where do you want it to go? This base point is how you define that. Okay. If you pre-selected your items, you don't have to use this objects section right here. If you didn't pre-select, if you had nothing selected when you went into the block command, then what you do is use this button right here that says select objects and go pick what you wanted. Also, pay attention to these radio buttons that are kind of right in the center here. The options are retain, convert to block, and delete. I think convert to block is the default, and truthfully it's the one that that I usually use the most. Convert to block will take the objects that you select in your drawing and turn them into a block, while also saving a block that you can insert anywhere else. Retain leaves those objects in a place. So for example, if it's 6 lines, okay, it leaves those 6 lines. They're there. They stay just as they are, but saves a block, and then you can insert it somewhere else in your drawing. delete erases the original items, but still saves a block. So how do we insert a block into our drawing? The command is called insert, and the shortcut or hotkey is I. And you can find it either in the Home tab of the block panel and the Insert tab block definition panel. Okay, so it looks like this, insert. If you choose the icon, it will pull up a flyout panel, and it looks like this. Okay. You can see on that panel some recent blocks that you may have inserted, or you can choose to select blocks from other drawings. That will pull up the blocks palette. If you just type insert or I, it will directly pull up the blocks palette. Here is an example of the blocks palette. If you have this, you can drag and drop these blocks right into your drawing. And once you've so you can drag and drop if you don't care exactly where it goes. You can choose the block and then choose the insertion point if you are wanting to be much more specific, for example, to snap it to a specific point. So here I am, I've popped over to the AutoCAD program to give you a little demonstration. First, let's find the icons. Here we are in the Home panel, Home tab, and then the block panel is right here, and here is the Insert command. Or you can go to the Insert tab, and then, where is it? Oh, here it is, Create the Block right here. So first, let's show you how to create that block. Let's make some objects here. All right, I've drawn some rectangles, and I'd like these rectangles to be turned into a block. So I'm going to, in this case, use the icon. Click that. I didn't select any items, so I'm going to need to do that through this window. So first I'll type a name. This one is rectangle step up, maybe just steps. Okay. Next I'm going to select my objects. I will go here to the objects section. If you have this specify on screen button clicked, you can, when you close the block definition window, it will have you go specify the objects. I prefer it to do it right now, so I'm going to uncheck that box and then click this little button, select objects, and go pick my objects. I'm going to hit enter or spacebar to come back to my window. So you can see right here, it's got a tiny little picture of my rectangle steps. All right. Same thing for the base point. You can either specify it on screen when the dialog box is closed, or I prefer to do it right now. I'm going to pick an insertion base point, and I can object snap to any point. And actually, I think I would like this point right here. All right. Now remember these radio buttons, you can choose retain, convert to block, or delete. I'd like to stick with convert to block. And I'm done. I've got my name, I've got my base point, I've selected my objects, and I will click OK. But it doesn't look like anything happened, but it did, because look, when I hover, I now have one object. This is a block, and it's got one grip, which is the insertion point, and I can move it in other places. Okay. Now I'd like to insert a block into my drawing. So let me find the block insert. Oh, here it is. Block insert icon. I'll click on that. And you get a flyout window that shows you the last couple of blocks that you used and if you want to insert them. And I would like to insert the rectangle steps, please. So I will click on that. And Notice that I'm controlling the rectangle steps by its base point. That's where it's going to be inserted in my drawing. So if I wanted to, for example, snap it right here, I could do that. The other way to do this is to get the block palette, and I'm going to do that by typing the insert command. And take a look, the block palette came up right here. And I'm currently in the recent tab of this palette. There's a couple of other tabs. Please go ahead and play with those and find all these options. And I can click on a block and then insert it so that I could snap it right there. Or I can drag the block. I find it a little bit harder to control where it goes if I drag it, but notice that I am still controlling it by its base point, and so if I wanted to snap it to a particular location, I could do that. I prefer just the two-click method, but you can drag instead if you like. All right, in this little video, we covered how to create blocks and how to insert them.